Hello, Miss Lisa. How are you?
Hello. Great. How are you?
Fabulous.
Yay.
So, welcome to Just Start with Jane. There are those leaders that shine above all others. Let's put it that way. When it comes to transforming their organization and putting our solutions and framework in place, they are just early adopters when it comes to change efforts. And in our work with healthcare organizations across the country, we meet these early adopters. So those people who have used their influence and their talents and their skills to put the solutions in place and create greatness across their own sphere of influence. So I'm deeply honored you're here. I'm deeply honored that people go on Facebook Live with me twice a month. That's a miracle. And so welcome to Just Start with Jane, Lisa Janty.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's
Yes.
the first time. I'm an early adopter to Facebook Live. Never done this before. So
Aren't
let's
your children
start.
going to be so proud of you? Like
Oh,
totally.
goodness. Oh, goodness.
So Lisa hails from the great organization of Hayward Area Memorial Hospital in Water's Edge up in northern Wisconsin, the North Woods in Hayward, Wisconsin. And your title is, oh darn it, I wrote it down and I forgot it, Process Improvement Lean Coordinator.
Yes.
We were texting back and forth or emailing back and forth today, and I had to ask her what her title was, and she had to look at her name tag.
Yes.
But long considered, Sue and I are just in awe of your talents. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you.
And you come from a market or not a marketing, like a manufacturing background.
I do. I do. I
So
spent a
I
long time in manufacturing before joining healthcare. So,
yes, a long time. And I
yes.
believe that healthcare leaders everywhere need to be like bronzed, to have their statues placed
Mhm,
about the town square. But
mhm,
it's especially doubly courageous when you start in manufacturing or any career really, and then go to healthcare.
mhm,
Has
mhm.
anyone ever asked you what were you?
Oh, I think so. I think so. I tell people I enjoy. I'm an industrial engineer, and I enjoyed manufacturing, and thought I would never ever 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 leave it because it was so fun, and I love solving problems, and that's what you do in manufacturing is you solve problems. And I worked for 3M, which is a great company.
Yeah,
Um, but then I realized I wanted to solve some different problems.
yeah,
I got tired of solving those problems, and that's really what it had nothing to do with the organization
right,
or anything. It was
right.
I want to solve some different problems.
Well,
And
you are a genius at
oh,
problem
thanks.
solving, and
Yeah. So,
Hayward is gifted with your presence. We
oh,
have
thank
long
you.
thought that, and I have told Luke the Drifter, as he's called in this house, that many times. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
so here's the problem: leaders in healthcare are promoted from within most often.
Hmm.
But most often, myself included, um, you showed promise as a clinician. You showed promise in whatever your field of expertise is, and people tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey,
Yep.
you're a great trauma nurse. You're a great this. You're a great that. Wouldn't you be a great leader? Or we like you. You should
Hmm.
apply for the open leadership
Right.
position."
Hmm.
And so then we get dumped into these roles in leadership which are vital to the success of an organization. Like Sue and I based our company on the fact that middle management is vital to the success of an organization. So we put leaders in roles in the midst of a whirlwind, never mind pandemic, but any whirlwind,
Hmm.
especially in rural healthcare. And then the loudest voices they hear most often are their employees who are saying, "We need you to work shoulder to shoulder. We need you to still be that expert clinician. We still need you to be that expert in your field." And the
Yep.
leadership part of it kind of gets pushed
Hmm.
and pushed
Right.
and pushed.
Right.
So thankfully, Hayward, and thankfully, all of our partners do a really great job of developing leaders and training them in the tactics of leadership. But what we don't always see, as we have seen your organization do, is that when we set goals, when we develop strategy, when we, make a tactic come alive, it needs to be in alignment with the org, with the strategy, with what we're trying to all move forward and do. So I really feel like Hayward, with your role and with your brain, making the dream come true, let's put it that way. Like, I really feel like you've been really successful in your leadership, Bundle, or what you refer to as the standard work of leaders. So it may have been written in alignment with your organization goals and your strategic plan, but it's carried out through what you've developed in breaking down the work of leaders into manageable bite-sized pieces, really. So what, how would you, I'd love for the fans of the framework to hear about that. What do you do to make sure the leaders adapt the strategy of the organization? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think that to me I feel like alignment is part of my being. And I don't know how it can, I've been thinking a lot about like how is that true, but I think I'm always kind of like trying to figure out, okay, how does this align? How does this align? How does this align? And so that part, when things don't align or when I'm not sure where we're going, I'm kind of it goes on my radar right away. It's like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? And so I think that that's really been helpful because, and I can be really geeky here and kind of go, it's a lean thing, because I kind of see misalignment as waste, right?
Right.
I mean, and it's kind of like, well, if you're working on something that's not important to the organization or the community you serve, it's kind of waste, and so from a lean perspective, I think that's part of the essence of why this works, and why I can help the organization see that. And so I do think that in healthcare, this might be bold to say, we are used to doing everything, right? Because we will do everything for our patient. We will do everything possible for our patient. You're not going to go, oh, well, wait a minute, that's not, we don't have time for that, so we're not going to do that for the patient. We will do everything.
Yes.
So I think that sometimes translates into the leadership part, right? As you mentioned, this leader goes from doing everything for their patient to doing everything for their team to doing everything for the organization. But it's like, ooh, yikes. We can't, in reality, we can't do everything.
Right.
We can for our patients, or we try our hardest for our patients. But for the organization, I mean, we really can't. And so we're not setting them up for success.
Right.
And so that's really where it's kind of saying, okay, so then how do I make the decision of what to do as the leader? My staff is telling me this, the organization is telling me this, I can't do everything. Then how do we create that alignment? What tools can we use to do that? And I think that really, from a True North perspective, this is where True North is vitally, or your mission or your vision, whatever word you use to say, where are we going, organization? Some people use mission, some people use True North, whatever you use, where are we going? That really that's important, because that's where the alignment starts.
Right. Absolutely.
And says, okay, how are we aligned to, for us, it's the health and well-being of the greater Hayward Lakes region, right? How are we aligned today? How are we delivering on that today?
Right.
So that then every layer of the organization can start saying, well, is the work that I'm doing, is that helping the community, health and well-being of the community?
Right.
Maybe not, and if it's not, well, then why are we doing it?
Right.
So that's really, from a True North perspective. And then, as you mentioned, our pillars, and most organizations in healthcare have similar pillars, right? Workforce, quality, service. How are those pillars aligned to True North?
Right.
And then how are our teams? So about a year and a half ago, maybe we docked up our teams to the pillars, so everybody's not working on everything. Every team isn't working on a service goal.
Right.
That might make some people really nervous. What do you mean? Whatever. But it's kind of like, well, every team can't work on everything, but we
Right.
know we have opportunities around service in our ED setting. We know we have opportunities around service in our inpatient rate setting. So that's where we have teams docked up to right now. Not
Right.
saying we aren't going to work on the other things, but these are the priorities for now.
Right.
So really creating that to me kind of helps the alignment. And I've always felt like once people know where you're trying to go and you explain, or you start to think of, they want to go, how can I contribute? I want to go. I mean, if they agree to where you want to go, then they're like, I want to contribute. How do I go there? And that really, then the alignment just kind of starts itself.
Right.
And you can easily, you can use huddles to help with the alignment. You can use rounding to help, help with the alignment. I mean, all of the tools that your organization has put in place and helped us put in place, we can dock those up. Managing up, we can use that to help with alignment. I mean, we can, every single tool, to me, how is this, rather than, I mean, you kind of got to get through the work of implementing some of the evidence-based practices. You kind of got to do that. But I know, like last year we worked on narrated care specifically in the ER around wait times, because we needed to improve our service in the ER around wait times.
Right.
And it wasn't just like, okay, well, let's work on narrated care.
Yeah.
Yep. We want to do that, but how can we use that tool to really help move us closer to that true north of really helping our community? Says, wait, I'm waiting too long in your ER. HMHWE. We don't want to wait that long. Okay, that's what our community is telling us. So then,
which is our community is our mission. So
exactly.
So really, what you have done, which is genius, is, don't let leaders, kind of go off on their own. Sure, I put managing up in place, but did you align it with something? Yes. Did you back it up to something? And, when you were talking about, alignment is my being, I like sat up straighter. I thought, oh, she's probably a yogi too. But really it's a mantra more than anything. I mean, it's kind of this is, and God bless you for like speaking that language. And because I've been on your steering team calls where you're like, oh, hold the phone, wait, is this really what we want to do? Because it's going to take us off course potentially, or what's our why? What's,
Right.
So, just, taking the positive communication standards, taking leadership tactics and breaking them down in your why is true north. It's our journey. It's what we do every day. It's our mission. So, Jean, yes. So can you speak a little bit about the senior leader validation rounding and how that kind of puts things in perspective?
Yeah, no, I think that was somewhat planned, but also somewhat of a, oh wow, that really worked out well for us, didn't it? I mean,
that must have stuck on the wall.
Yeah. I think to me it's so intriguing about so we put some of these evidence-based work practices in place. And we weren't really sure how well they were working. So that's really what the True North People team asked, is like, well, how would we know how well these things are working? How would we know how well managing up is working? How would we know, whatever. And so then the idea was, let's round and kind of audit. We're basically rounding / auditing the process, which is a fabulous, I mean, for me, from a lean perspective, yep. That's how go and audit or whatever. And that's really what our senior, we could call it validation rounding, you could call it audit. That's really what they're doing. In what I would say in audit in a very collaborative way. It isn't policing.
Right.
It is
Not
it is a
present spying.
correct. No, it is a, hey, I kind of want to talk to you about how this tool is working for you,
Right.
and let's have a conversation and where you at. And I do think that's one thing that we really, really try hard to do is let's meet them where they're at and
Yeah.
then move forward.
Yeah.
And that we may not always, and I think that as a leader, you might not always like where they're at, where a team's at, you might, or whatever, but kind of got to meet them there and then come with them. We're in this together. We got to come forward. So, so each month we have a topic, I would say, that the senior leaders round on. They divide up all the teams in the organization, and they each do a fourth, and then it's a random thing. They do different teams. It's not always their team. Sometimes it is their teams. It's whatever, and whoever's available on the day of the rounding is who talks to the senior leader. And they know that the senior leader is coming, and they know what the is, so we don't blindside them.
Right.
And so like last month, it was huddles.
Mm-hmm.
The month before it was goal setting. Both, very interesting, so we had just kind of completed our goal setting process for 2021 in November, December. So then they rounded on that in January, and really kind of getting a vibe for how much do the teams know about the goals of the organization? How much do they know about their department goals? How much do they, where are they at? All of those types of things. For huddles, same type of thing. Okay, so we're using huddles to try to help with alignment. How is it going?
Right.
And then they do end up scoring, which I really do like. They do end up kind of coming up with a score. It's on a scale 1 to 10. And then based on that score, we kind of make the True North People steering team may recommend some adjustments, but it's been really interesting. I think the couple things I think are very fun is it connects people who are pretty far away from the work, right? Our senior leaders, to the work.
They should be. Work.
I mean, that's nothing, but they're, pretty far away from patient care to the work. So for that 1 hour, it usually probably takes 40 minutes-ish or whatever. They're pretty connected. They're pretty close to the work, right? And so I think that part has been super interesting, to have them connect in a very different manner. And then I think the other thing is what gets talked about is the important stuff,
Where
if you go, well, we don't huddle, and we don't know why we would huddle, and whatever. Well, it gives that senior leader an opportunity to go, really, that's really surprising, because this is what I've experienced with, or this is what some of your other teams are experiencing around huddles.
Right.
So I guess that idea, going back to your comment about early adopters, and it kind of lets them share the story of the organization between the early adopters and maybe the not so early adopters. And not judging, but just going, oh, that's very interesting. This is what I've seen from others. So it's been really, it's been amazing. And that would be something that I don't, when I think back to manufacturing, we didn't have a process like that.
Right.
I mean, that's a healthcare, gem of like, hey, this is something that healthcare could teach, at least the manufacturing experience I had.
Oh, that's so cool. So then the results, the score in my department, if I'm a frontline leader in Hayward, is reported very transparently at the steering committee, right? And maybe
we don't shame. We haven't gotten to that yet. No, the senior leaders kind of talk amongst themselves, and then they come up with a score for the whole organization.
Oh, okay. So
it is not department by department specific.
Oh, okay. But
then
I think Andrea would talk to me as my
right.
leader. Yeah.
Yes, I think that allows them to have some conversation that says, wow, I really saw this awesome practice in one area, or wow, this team really needs some support. Like you might, and so they're able to share that. And so, I think we kind of are transparent with the feedback, but not to the department level, not yet anyway. And I don't know. I mean, the scoring tool is pretty rudimentary, so I'm not sure it would be validated at the department level, but
That's your genius talking again.
yeah. But,
Well, it works.
Right,
just
right.
from the facts, just from data perspective. I clearly remember being in your organization 3 years ago at a quarterly leadership training, and the leadership scores on the employee engagement survey were the lowest in the organization. Leaders were the most unhappy group, to now 4.55 out of 5.
Yes.
Alignment, accountability.
Right.
It's, everybody talks about, these are words that are heavy. These are words that people yearn for, really.
Right.
I know what my responsibilities are. It's very clearly stated.
Yes.
No questions asked. So
Right. Yeah. And I think that idea around, we had in manufacturing too, where the best firefighter, best problem solver got promoted. And then how do you transform them from being the very best firefighter and problem solver into the leader? And I don't think that that's unique to healthcare. But I do think that that's, if you can figure that out, and then really that's what we've been trying to do with the leader standard work, is really to help that transformation and transition that says, yep, you were the very best nurse, the very best pharmacist, the very best whatever you were, and now you're in a leadership role. How can we help you with some standard work? I remember back in the day when I was at 3M and I became a leader, I was handed a scorecard. I was handed a rounding form. I was handed a huddle schedule. I just like, oh, you guys huddle at that time. Okay, I'm your new leader. Okay, I will join that. You know what I mean? All of that was in place, and what a huge benefit that was to me, because I didn't have to create that. Where in healthcare, we kind of have to create that, but the next leader will be handed that. Here's your scorecard. Did it look exactly the same a year after I had been handed it? No. But at least it was a place to start. This is where the previous leader thought was important. Hey, you might want to pay attention to these couple things. This is what the previous leader thought was priority. All of those things. It certainly helped my learning curve as becoming a new leader in that area.
Right.
And gave me very much visibility. That's one of the things that I think we're really trying to work on here in Hayward is the visibility.
Yeah.
So like when I was thinking about this conversation, I was thinking about, well, how would we know when there's misalignment? Some of it would be, well, we're going to see that through senior leader rounding, right? You're going to go, oh, wait a minute. They're not quite in line, or whatever. And so we're going to try to move them back, but it's just like, if we walked into the hospital or Water's Edge today, would everybody know, hey, wait a minute, there's a little bit of misalignment going on over there.
Right.
They
might.
Yes.
Now we ask our patients that question: were you cared for by a team that worked well together? So, well, thank you so much, Lisa. This is such great information that 800 leaders, hopefully will share with others. So, welcome to Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you for all your help in our journey. You guys have laid a fabulous foundation, and we're building up the house.
Yes.
Not exactly sure we know exactly when we're going to be done with the house, but we're building it up.
That's right. Never, probably.
Yes,
well, call to action for all of you watching Lisa and I today. We have this fabulous new product. We described yesterday, and it's called Ascend. We did an Ascend demo to strangers. We got to talk to strangers yesterday, which we love to do. And we described it as a product that's 9 years in the making, a very long pregnancy that we're giving birth to this new baby. So it's being rolled out April 2021, and our website has a place for you to push a button and book a call. All right. Thanks
Awesome.
again, Lisa.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye now.